First, let me say that this book is written to be short, sweet, lean and mean, so please forgive its conciseness. I promise this is not another get-rich scheme, infomercial type book or even how to be a real estate millionaire in 30 days or less. But this is a practical way to start with a small amount of money and watch it grow into powerful wealth over time. I wanted to write in 10,000 words or less a simple, easy to follow plan to financial freedom. I've read all the books on get-rich schemes and I've tried more of them than I care to admit. But this is what I have developed and is a simple strategy to plant some seed money, feed it and watch your money tree grow. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian E. Niskola and probably like you I have struggled financially throughout my career. In fact, I had been laid off, well actually terminated is the correct term. I was offered a 20% pay cut at the job I was at, in order to stay as the economy took a quick downturn in 2008. I declined and tried to negotiate down to 10% but was quickly and abruptly fired. I was unemployed on and off for the next 4 years. Not because I was lazy or incompetent, it was just after the 2008 economic slowdown or rather meltdown, people were getting laid off, fired on an almost daily basis by the thousands. Up until then I considered myself smarter than the average guy and secure in my job. But those 4 years of unemployment taught me more about myself than I could ever have learned in college, climbing Mount Everest or living on the streets of New York for that matter. Those 4 long years gave me time to think, reflect, dream, re-educate myself and build an unbelievable desire to succeed. My plan and goal was simple, to never have to depend on a paycheck from an employer again. I spent those 4 years reading everything I could on personal development, investing in anything else to keep my mind filled and nourished with positivity despite my unemployed status. I woke up every morning, sent out a resume or two, made a few phone calls and then read anything and everything. My wife accused me of napping here and there, but I was actually in a deep focused state of meditation. Okay, maybe a little napping, I would take frequent breaks from reading and took to writing. I wrote mostly fiction, novels and articles for various websites. But then after about my 1000th book I read, yes that is correct 1000, I took to writing my first nonfiction book, Management Experience. In this I covered my work history, a few hundred pages that in essence was an ultra-long version of my resume. A quick side note on why I also wrote Management Experience, I actually was called to an interview for a management job at Thermo Fisher Scientific. I was interviewed by a gentleman who was more than a few years my junior. He asked me to tell him about myself as he began to read a lunch menu rather than pay attention. I actually stopped and asked if I could look at the menu as well. Shocked at this I pulled the menu from his hands and handed him my resume. He looked at it and told me that he wanted to read it but it was a mini novel. Being about 4 pages long I agreed and decided to make it just that, thus Management Experience the book was born. Well, that should give you some insight to my tongue-in-cheek personality and my promise to again keep this short but entertaining. In writing Management Experience, I had written a section on personal finance and investing, based on my own learned experiences. These techniques helped get me out of debt and start my stock market investing venture. At the time of that writing, I had already built up a sizable portfolio that is doubling its dividend payout every 12 months. So, to say the least, it looked as though I had stumbled upon a way to eliminate debt quickly while simultaneously build wealth through investing in stocks. As I want to make this a quick and non-complicated read, I will forego the personal finance, debt elimination section until the end. And dig right into the investing part in more detail here. As I am not a licensed stockbroker or financial consultant, I would urge you to seek a licensed financial professional before trying any of my techniques. And when you get to my debt elimination section, consult a licensed/certified accountant, CPA. Okay, now that my disclaimer is out of the way, right into it. Almost all wealthy people seem to be very relaxed and stress-free, not a worry in the world. Why? Because they are wealthy, of course. There is no daily stress on what bills have to get pushed off until next week or next month. They don't walk through a room and turn lights off or the thermostat down in winter. They say the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This is fact true for 2 reasons. The first is money management. If you are disorganized, especially in your finances, wealth will forever elude you. The second is the compounding of the wealthy's money and investments. The poor obviously have little to no money for investing because of the first reason, money management. The wealthy have reached a tipping point with the money they make and have. Their tipping point is where the money they need to cover their basic living expenses, lifestyle, has been met, and anything beyond that is used for wealth building. Their leftover income is then reinvested into places where that money can make even more money.